Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Andrea and I have been selling on Etsy for 8 years. This YouTube channel is just where we talk about Etsy, best practices, day in the lives. Basically, I take you guys along the journey of what I'm learning, what I've learned in the past on selling, or I guess while I am selling on Etsy, my embroidery business. So that is what we talk about. Today specifically, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how much I make on Etsy during busy season. Okay, so I want to get ahead of this just in case anyone's watching this to be nosy, I guess, which I guess like that is kind of a clickbaity title. So I wouldn't blame you. I would also want to know, I guess it's not nosy. We are going to be doing this video in percentages. I just don't really feel comfortable sharing the actual number just because I feel like no matter what, there's no good outcome to that. Like I feel like if it's way more, that's not great. If it's way less, that's not great. No matter what, like way less or more than you would think, that's not a great outcome. And so we're just going to be talking about it in percentages. If you're watching this wanting to hear the actual numbers, you might as well just turn it off now because we're just gonna be talking about percentages. But I do actually think that it will be really helpful for you guys because I kind of talk about what the statistics mean to us, how we plan around them. And so you can look at your stats, compare them, and then also make some decisions about your business the same way that we do, knowing what our statistics are. So I will be sharing statistics, each one, like I think I do revenue, orders, and views. I have to look at my notes, but I think I do revenue, orders, and views for November and December, and then for Q4, just to let you guys know how busy our busy season truly is. And one more thing before we start, I'm gonna have to hold my computer during this just because it's a lot of numbers that I did not memorize. One more thing before we start is that all of these statistics are based on last year's numbers, so 2021. I did pull in a couple of other years for a few of them, and I will let you know when that's happening, just to give an idea of it, like last year versus some other years, all those sorts of things. But for the most part, if I don't say anything, it's from last year's numbers. Okay, so the first statistic I want to talk about is the revenue statistic. So our revenue last year in November and December made up of 43% of our total revenue, and the Q4, so October, November, December, made up 53% of our total revenue. So actually that is a little bit off from like normal years. We usually do a higher percentage of revenue in the last quarter. Normally I say around 70, but I'm thinking that I maybe need to adjust that number clearly because last year it was closer to, I say in the last quarter. Yeah. So last year it was only 53. I did pull up another year's statistic just to get a better picture of Q4. And so that one was, I don't remember what year it was, but it was actually 67% of our revenue was done in Q4. So much more closer that year. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from to that 70% number that I usually say. But last year was just 53%. I think what happened is that we had a really large January last year. And so because of that, it kind of threw off the orders. So that's, I don't know, this is just super really, when I was writing the script for this video and getting all these numbers for you guys, it was very, very interesting to look at. So I hope it's interesting for you to hear about. I'm really hoping that this is fun because it's really, really interesting to me. So the other thing that I did want to note is that looking at the numbers, we are basically dead on revenue-wise this year from last year. So both the, so obviously I'm recording this in November. I don't know when this is gonna actually publish, but I'm recording this early November, or I guess mid-November. And so we only have September and October, but both like the 2021 and 2022 September and 2022 October are within $100 of each other. So we're like pretty much doing the exact same revenue-wise as we did last year. The next statistic I wanted to talk about was the actual number of orders. So the order number statistic, I will say this is becoming a less and less reliable statistic for me as far as like a metric of my business. In the early days, it really was a much more reliable statistic because we did one, a lot of single orders, and two, I made basically the same amount of money on every single order that I sold. So basically if it was a single order and I sold one item, I basically made like, I don't remember, let's just say $10 per item I sold. And so if I made 1,000 1,000 orders, I made $10,000. And that was pretty cut and dry. As we've grown, we've been able to source stuff better. And so now we make higher profit margins on some things. And we get a lot of bulk orders nowadays. So we are selling more and more like 10-piece orders, 20-piece orders, 5-piece orders, all those sorts of things, like way more than the early days. And so this is becoming a less reliable statistic, but I still thought it'd be fun to look at. So last year, November and December, 39% of our total orders were done in November and December, and 47% of the total orders was done in Q4. That is still pretty close to the revenue total, but you can see the slight differences in that. The last thing to look at, and this one was so fascinating to me, like I tell you what, the last thing to look at is visits. This statistic really blew my mind. So the total percentage of visits from November and December was 25% of our total visits throughout the year, and Q4 was only 33% of the total. This just tells me that people are like much more warm buyers in November and December. So we're doing what I say, 43% of our revenue. I think that's what I said. Yeah, 43% of our revenue in November and December, and only getting 25% of our visits. And that's at the same time. That just tells me that like when people see something in November and December, they are ready to buy it. Like Etsy is bringing warm buyers to the platform. I also, just so you know, this is relevant, I don't run sales ever. We don't really do sales in our shop. I think it may be like this will be my 9th busy season. In the over 8 years that I have been selling, I think I've ran like 2 sales ever. So it's not just because the reason why my visits are low and my revenue is higher in November and December isn't because I'm running like a sale. It's just because people are really warm buyers in November and December, which I've honestly found so fascinating. I was like, this is so interesting that people are clearly just so much more willing to buy in November and December and Q4 than any other time of the year. So anyways, we're gonna talk about what I do with that information, but I really found that very interesting. Okay, so what do we even do with this info? What's the point of talking about it? Why does it matter? How does it affect our routine? So the very first thing to know about how it affects our routine is that we expect it to get busy in November and December, obviously with a good reason to do so. We expect it to get busy. When we plan trips or life events, we try to keep busy season in mind, just because we know that this is gonna be a all day, everyday endeavor to get all of the orders made and shipped out in time for people to have them by Christmas. We know that we are gonna be sewing basically 4 or 5 days a week for all day every December. And so we try not to plan we wouldn't plan like a kid or a marriage around it, to be honest. My husband and I are already married. We wouldn't plan that. We would just roll with the punches, but we definitely do try and plan trips. I try to not be out of town anytime in December. Last year we did take a whirlwind New York City trip, but we were literally gone Friday night to Monday morning at 5. And so we didn't lose any sewing time. We did strictly the weekend, but we really do try and plan trips around it just because we know that I'm going to be really busy. So we have that expectation that I'm going to be busy. On the flip side, we know that the month of February, the month of July are going to be really slow for us. And so that's whenever we can take those longer trips and just basically, we kind of plan those sorts of things around the busy season. Okay, so the next thing, and this might be really helpful for your business depending on your business model, is that we can structure marketing efforts around it. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I've said this a billion times on this channel. My number one marketing strategy for my Etsy shop is ranking high in Etsy search. It's what I spend my time on. It's what we focus on. It is what, when I'm working on my Etsy shop, as far as listings are concerned, I am working on ranking in Etsy search. It's how we market our business. But during this time period, we do try to ramp up any outside marketing that we do. I've already hinted at this. I didn't hint at it. I full-blown talked about it. People are going to be ready to buy during these months. So giving them a reason to, giving them the reminder to buy from you during these months is really important. It's a really good idea. So for your shop, like I said, we just focus on ranking high in Etsy search. If you are someone who runs ads, you might raise your ad budget during this time. If you are someone who posts a lot on Instagram, you might want to raise crazy amount of posts that you are doing during November and December, just trying to establish more touch points with your customers so they can see it more, because clearly they're more ready to buy in November and December. If you're an email list person, sending out more emails, like maybe one extra email a week, would be a really good idea to do during this time period. Something that we do in this vein with our SEO business plan, with our SEO marketing plan, is we do an SEO refresh in our shop every August and September. We just go through, make sure the keywords are good, make sure we just do like an SEO refresh. We basically go check on all of our listings and make sure everything's looking good. We do that in August and September earlier, just so it has a lot of time to like register, and if we need to change anything, we can still tweak it before busy season. But because, like I said, that is our number one source of traffic, that is something that we focus on for busy season, is doing like a little bit of an SEO refresh. And then this year we are actually late on this, which is embarrassing to admit, but we also try and list some new trending products that we think will sell well for the holiday season. So we are working on that now. I just listed 2 new products today. And so that is what that looks like for us in busy season, how we prep for it marketing wise. The last thing that we do, sometimes this year is one of those years. This year, we sometimes will plan big purchases around it. Obviously, we are smart about it. My husband and I are very debt averse, which you've probably heard on this channel if you're like a super listener, but we try and stay out of debt in like any way that we possibly can, both in our personal lives and business lives. And I've never been in debt for this business, but I mean, I've never like taken out a loan, I should say, for this business. So don't hear what I'm not saying. It's not like we're like banking on all of it and then can't. So banking on all of the income, and then if it weren't to happen, we would be fine. But we do sometimes plan to do bigger projects around the times where we know that there's going to be a big safety cushion, because we're getting 53% of our revenue during that time. So that is just a little, I guess, personal or business note that you can kind of, when you know your numbers, you can plan marketing, you can plan purchases around it, you can plan your life around those numbers. And so it is really, really important. If you were wondering how I got these numbers, I just went to the stats tab and just played with the dates and then looked at all of the dates from last year. It's really, really simple to do. I do recommend it because, like I said, you can make decisions around it. It's really, really impactful to know for your business. That being said, I do hope this video was helpful to you, interesting to you. It was really, really fun for me to go look at those statistics. We don't do that very often. We try to keep our eyes forward, looking ahead, but it is good to know those statistics. So I hope this video was helpful. My goal on this channel is to break down Etsy concepts in simple ways so that you can not overcomplicate Etsy and get out there and start selling. So if that is what you are interested in, make sure to subscribe and check out my totally free masterclass in the description. Thank you so much for watching.